Hello, and welcome to another episode of Thoroughly Thriving, where talent meets strategy and innovation drives success. On today's episode, we will take a deep dive into the world of human capital solutions, explore the latest trends in recruitment, and share actionable insights to help businesses grow and thrive. Whether you're a seasoned executive, a budding entrepreneur, or just passionate about the future of work, you are in the right place. Well, let's get started on building the future one conversation at a time. Well, welcome to another episode of Thoroughly Thriving, the first one of 2025, Sean. It is good to
Wow.
be back in the saddle, good to be back from a little bit of a break, which was needed. You know, sometimes you need to step away, get refreshed, get revitalized, rejuvenated. That certainly happened for me, my family, and I couldn't be more optimistic and expectant for 2025. How are you feeling?
Yeah, Darren, I'm feeling great. I agree. Our families even got to spend a little bit of time together over the break, which was nice and refreshing, some great memories, and I think it's always so needed this time of year. But man, I'm ready to go hair on fire for a great year in 2025. I can't believe we got new generations being born this year. We got all sorts of new things happening. It's pretty exciting stuff here in 2025 and excited for the road ahead for our industry and our business as well.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Look, we're ready to thrive in 2025. And I
Hey.
know our clients, the candidates, the industries that we support and partner with are from the same, they're singing from the same sheet of music, Sean, essentially. So
Yep.
everyone is
Yep.
very, very optimistic, like I mentioned a bit earlier. Well, as we've done in the past, we have talked about core values, the foundation, the fundamentals, kind of our bedrock that Thorough Group was built on about 9 months ago, right? But even before 9 months, we knew when we opened the doors that we needed to have some great core values. And so in the past, we talked about living your legacy. And we've talked about driven to excellence, but one I think is applicable to talk about, and the reason why we incorporated this into our core values is around relentless innovation. Innovation has been a buzzword for quite some time, but I think it's never been more prominent than it is right now. Certainly, with the significant emergence of artificial intelligence as well as machine learning, that's been such a hot topic, again, a buzzword, and we've seen that really impact every sphere of influence here on planet Earth, but also every industry. So I thought it would be really applicable to talk about relentless innovation, why it's important for Thorough Group, why it's important for the industries that we service. So, you know, I know that there's continuous improvements that are happening. What seems like on an hourly basis. I'm seeing things come up, pop up that can really optimize, enhance, and drive innovations. Certainly in getting drugs to market, but then also finding top talent. Sean, what are your thoughts around that?
I think it's great, and I love how we're talking about this. I know when we were sitting down and beginning to have conversations around, what we wanted the core values of our business to be. If we're not careful, human capital can become repetitive. As we've talked about before, human capital is a pretty common industry, but what really sets us apart and sets anybody who is really thriving in this area apart is being willing to relentlessly innovate, never be satisfied with just the way it's always been or the way we've always done it, but taking a look at how can we innovate, not always just for the sake of efficiency, but for the sake of being the absolute best you can be, for absolutely pushing the boundaries we were talking about earlier today, around LeBron James and how he's pushing the boundaries at 40 years old in the NBA, but he's been relentlessly innovative on how he takes care of his body, on how he trains and does all of these things that athletes in previous generations didn't, and so therefore they couldn't perform at the level he is at the age of 40. And so in a lot of the same respects, we really evaluate constantly what it is that we're doing and how we do it and making sure that we focus around that relentless innovation because, at the end of the day, we want to be the LeBron James of human capital, if you will, right? Constantly leading from the front, constantly pushing the boundaries of, what is still possible, as you continue forward. And so, but Darren, I know we're both excited about the future ahead in innovation. We're both excited about the road ahead for, I know even people in our space who are fearful of innovation. What does this machine learning and things look like for us in our industry? And does it put us out of work? Does it, take away the human element of what we're doing? But, I think the technology is out there and the innovation is out there to be leveraged. But how do you see where we're going, where like our clients and even candidates can utilize technology to be able to leverage it to benefit them the most?
Yeah, it's a good question, Sean. I've had a lot of candidates reach out and say, Darren, at the time that I submit my resume into a portal, um, or the time I get a response back from that submittal, it's reduced significantly because of how machine learning and AI has been leveraging algorithms or keywords that either progress them to the next step or reject them. And so I know now that we are providing a lot of consulting, a lot of advising to our candidates how to really bring the skill sets that matter the most to the forefront, to put them in the best position if they are going through a portal or some sort of automated system. Now, when partnering with Thorough Group, we're able to really accurately tell that story on their behalf and create that really appropriate narrative for them. And so I see that there's a lot of automation happening on an enterprise level,
Yep.
which does really commoditize human capital,
Yep.
which complete transparency, Sean, isn't ideal, right? Because we are all human beings, not
Yep.
completely human doings, right? And that is also something to factor in and consider as these innovations are happening. Where is the human touch in a lot of this? And I think there has to be a good balance with it. So, we're seeing a lot more tools, resources, platforms that have a AI machine learning integration component to it. Sean, the CRM, the ATS system that we use, the reason we selected it after doing months of due diligence is because of how there was an integration with machine learning, but also how we needed to really drive that. And it wasn't just click of the button, let's go ahead and just discredit, discount, or advance viable candidates or even clients that we're looking to partner with. So, really, I think the word that comes to mind is having a good balance between using technology, but then having clear discernment on when the human element needs to come in.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. And I think the human element is something we can never take out of innovation. I mean, you look at the amount of innovation that's happened in our world, there's always a human element. There's always an element of things that we, have to think through, we have to plan around. I think about things like the Wright brothers designing, the first airplane. Like there's still human limitations of a human, flying that thing and where they can go and what they can do. Humans have to be considered as a part of the development in that innovation. And I think in the same way as we work through kind of in this human capital space, there really needs to be a consideration of the human element because how many times I think it's great for efficiencies. I think it's great to really drill down on things. But how many times in your career have you been so thankful? I know I have been when I hired someone who maybe what, the automation would not have caught them. But because of the fact that they were the right candidate in the right place, and and they were really those power skills we talk about, they were the right power skill fit from exactly what we needed, and really multiplied the effort of what we're doing. And so, I think there always needs to be a human element. But to your point, I think it's understanding where that human element comes in to maximize your success. So I think that's really powerful.
That's right. Some of the words that we attach to this core value of relentless innovation for our audience there is being a visionary, being competitive, having flexibility, agility, being teachable and adaptable. And when I think about those words that are attributed to that core value of relentless innovation, I think about a quote that my dear uncle, who's a titan in the business industry in Singapore, and runs in circles like with people like Warren Buffett's of the world, and other just icons that have really done a lot of good for the world and for commerce in the marketplace. Uncle Alan talks about when the rate of change inside exceeds the rate of change outside, the end is in sight. So I'll say that again. When the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, the
That's right.
end is in sight. So when things are changing quicker on the outside than they are on the inside, that's when you see relentless innovation really die. There isn't.
Yep.
It's actually the void. So I actually got the quote right the second time for our audience there. So I was playing the tape backwards in my head. I always think about that, right? I think about the blockbusters of the world, right?
Yep.
They had an opportunity to buy
Netflix.
Netflix. They did. They
Yep.
had an opportunity to buy Netflix, but they refused to change because things were happening quicker on the outside than they were happening within the confines of Blockbuster's headquarters, right?
Yep.
Same thing with Kodak. My father-in-law retired from Kodak after 33 years, and he saw how the business was declining year after year, starting in the 1990s, right?
Wow.
They refused to change, and they actually created the digital camera, Sean. So there's a lot of
Wild.
stories and there's a lot of correlation. When I hear of clients not wanting to embrace AI, we see that more and more, it's more prevalent in drug discovery each and every day.
Yep.
Sean, I'm curious. You have phenomenal relationships with many emerging biotechs, pharma companies, device diagnostic, and technology based companies. How have you seen these companies embrace machine learning, AI over the last, call it 18 to 24 months?
Yeah. No, thank you, Darren. It's really interesting because I think, to your point, there has really been kind of a fight against it because of some of the traditional methodologies that we've used in drug development. And there are things where, this is how we've always done it. This is the way it always needs to be done. And to their point, one of the things that I love that I've heard is, it's not just a story. We have to follow the data, and the data is the most important thing. We can have a lot of different anecdotal evidence, so to speak, but when we really get down to it, what does the data show? And one of the things that is really at the forefront of utilizing a lot of this technology is the group of data science that has really grown within a lot of our clients. 5 years ago, 7 years ago, it was rare to see. And I remember later last year, we were in the Bay Area, meeting with a company that was an early phase company, still preclinical, not into the clinic yet. One of their key first five hires was a vice president of data science because of the fact that it was out on the forefront of this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to utilize. This is going to be what drives a lot of their decision making. And of course, data has always driven decision making within clinical research. Like that's absolutely foundational. But to know that there is innovation in the market that people are utilizing, even things like NVIDIA. I mean, I know you and I were talking about the other day, just the idea of how much that is even being utilized as a growth aspect so that we can, because at the end of the day, the people that we support, which is such an honor and privilege, are united and focused on how do we get the best treatments to patients in need as quickly and as safely and as effective as possible. Like those are the really the roadmaps that we're looking. We don't want to cut corners. We don't want to skip things. We don't want to try to do things the fast way. But if there are ways to shorten the distance between 2 points, utilizing a lot of this technology, why wouldn't we? If you could start on second base, it's like baseball made the switch a few years ago, into extra innings instead of waiting for somebody to get on base. Now the game goes for another hour and a half. They start a runner on second base because they want to speed up the opportunity for someone to win. It's the same way in utilizing a lot of this technology is that if we can already position ourselves to a second base position when we're driving forward, how much more effective and efficient can we be in, driving drug development forward? But tell me a little bit more. I know we were talking about this the other day about you were reading and watching some things with the founders of NVIDIA and what they were finding with the technology.
Yeah. It was a very, very interesting piece. And there was a CMO of a biotech who was very adverse to incorporating machine learning and AI into their drug discovery process and models. But after really looking at the data, because scientists certainly we like a good story, but it's all based on data. What story does the data tell? And so after modeling out several iterations of it, the data that this chip that NVIDIA had constructed was very, very airtight. And the modeling and the data that it provided was really undeniable, Sean. And so now they're fully immersed into it. And we've started to work with companies who are very reliant and have partnered with the same type of technology. And so it's been very interesting. And I love the analogy that you have, where they're starting on second and third base. Going
Yeah.
back to my initial point, there's things that we cannot expedite. We cannot. But there's also opportunities that are popping up each and every day within drug development that can be expedited. That can shorten the time frame for therapies to be able to hit the market and to help people. So it was very cool to see how technology based companies that you would have never dreamt of 5 years, 10 years, certainly 15 years ago, to really be partnering with the life science industry. So it's tremendous to see that partnership, that alignment to really reach the goal of
Yep.
helping and advancing global health.
Yep.
And Sean, I was also just thinking about what we're doing on our end, right?
Yep.
We have people in our corner, in the Thorough Group corner, that we partner with too to help us develop new proprietary tools too, so that we can find really the best candidates out there, the best solutions for our clients at pivotal times. Because again, from a human element perspective, that's something that just cannot be replicated in the ether, right? Or from a machine learning perspective. So, to our audience out there, we're really excited that we're going to be really leveraging and incorporating some proprietary AI tools into
Yep.
Thorough Group to be able to identify talent in a much quicker fashion, still utilizing our thoroughness, but being able to support our clients in ways that we could never have imagined. So, the conversations that we've been having over the last month and a half, 2 months with AI and machine learning partners from Silicon Valley have been very exciting. So we couldn't be more excited to really unveil some of these tools, resources, and innovations in the coming months.
Yeah, no, I agree, Darren. And I think for us, and I think why a lot of times our clients even want to work with us, and you know, I I hesitate to even say something like this because I know we don't utilize this podcast as much of a billboard for us, for Thorough Group, in terms of what we're doing. But I think for anyone who's making decisions around human capital, the people are still one of, if not the most important resource your company has. And finding the right people at the right timing is so key and so important. And so, we've really doubled down on this piece because, for us, it's about getting it right the first time. It's about, making sure that we utilize, our knowledge and expertise. And so, our clients depend on us just as much as patients depend on them to make sure that they're doing everything in their power to be effective in the work that they're doing. And so, I love the commitment that we have to it because I think it's something that we talk about regularly, not as a shortcut to cut ourselves out of work, but how do we amplify and really, engage the knowledge we have, the processes we have. It has been great to have some of these conversations over the last few weeks, with some of these partners talking through some solutioning and realizing like there is a road ahead that we can, really be effective in utilizing this technology to be a better resource for our clients. So, and it's exciting times, Darren. It really is.
Yeah, look, change is inevitable, Sean, but growth is optional.
Yep.
And we at Thorough Group have definitely chosen to grow and really, really embrace relentless innovation. So we're constantly not only looking at the horizon, but trying to forecast as best as we can what's beyond the horizon. And it only comes from those strategic partnerships that you just talked about.
Yep. Well, Darren, it's been another exciting episode. I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed talking through, this concept of relentless innovation. And I hope that to all of our audience, I hope you're finding things in your world where you can be constantly innovating, constantly tooling and tinkering with, because I know that in order to be fully, thoroughly thriving, you have to innovate. You have to be someone who is willing to take risks here and there, willing to stretch outside of your comfort zone, and to your point, talk about growth. But as we do that, as we innovate, as we stretch, we will continue to win and be really fully thriving as we talk about thoroughly thriving. But we can only do that, Darren, as we work as one and win as one. So let's make sure we get out there and do that this week. Thanks for joining us today.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today for another great episode of Thoroughly Thriving. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to share it with those in your world. If you'd like to learn more about the Thorough Group, please go to thoroughgroup.com. And remember that we will all remain thoroughly thriving if we continue to work as one and win as one.